Hello and welcome to Win Some Loosemore. My name is Dieter and I'm here today to tell you why I like Keyforge. Keyforge is a really interesting new category of game called a unique deck game, in which every deck you will ever buy is different from another one. The list of cards are procedurally generated, the backs are all different, the names are all different. It's not a trading game. You don't buy a deck and then swap some cards out. You use the deck that you've got. It's more of a resource management game than a straight dueling game that you'd imagine from like Pokemon or something like that. You're trying to forge 3 keys using a resource called Ember. Why don't I show you a little bit of how it works, and we'll come back and I'll tell you why I like Keyforge. So here I've set the game up. This is using the 2 preset decks that come in the first base box, and we set up the area as it sees here. Let me just move the camera down a bit. There's a few areas. This is just a play mat. You can buy this separately to put different things. Your main deck sits here on the draw deck space, and this will be your discard. Now next to it, each deck has 36 cards and then an ID card. So this tells you the name of your deck, which will be different for each one, the houses that are in it, and then all the cards that will appear in this deck. Because this is the preset ones, this is like this. Normally, all the other decks that you buy will also have a QR code for here that you'd be able to scan in, so you can register your collection. And so if you play in official tournaments or what have you, that would affect how it's ranked and potentially if it's changed. Now the 3 houses in this deck, this is Miss Onyx Censorious. We have Brobnar, who are very big beastie attacky, Dis, which is like demons who steal or affect the other person, and Shadows, who are thieves and such things. So that's the 3 in this, and their opponent is Radiant Argus the Supreme, who has Logos, which is very much about getting through your deck, Sanctum, maintaining board presence, and Untamed, which are like a forest beastie type things as well. So they all come with 12 cards of whichever house. The house we don't have out currently is Mars, which, as you would guess, is Martians. So that goes there. And I've also set out the 3 unforged keys. Our aim is to forge these. When we forge them, we just flip them over. You can see them, they're filled in. And we do that by collecting this thing here called Amber. These are just tokens that I used. And the other tokens I've set out are damage. And then over here we've got extra power markers and stun markers. In the newer set, they are now tokens as well, but they're initially cards. So you determine who goes first. I usually flip one of the keys, filled in or empty side. For the sake of this side's going first, so they've drawn 6. It's the usual hand limit, and I've drawn 7. And because I'm going first, I can only play 1 card. Now when you play, you can do, apart from this first turn, because I can only play 1 card this time, usually you can do as much as you like of a single house. So here in the top you can see the house. These are all Brobnars. Let's move that there so it's even clearer. This is a Dis, and these 2 are Shadows. So that symbol will tell you. So if I was taking a Brobnar turn later, I could, if I wanted to, play all of these creatures down. Or if I had Brobnar people out, I could use them. There are generally 3 types of cards, and then a 4th that may pop up. We've got creatures, and you can see that they have the word creature here, and they have a number. This number is both their health and their attack. Attacks happen simultaneously. If that number is ever equaled or exceeded, this is died. If it's just taken damage, we put some of those damage tokens on it. There are action cards, which do exactly what they say. You play it and do what it says. Simple enough. And there are artifacts, which come out like a creature, and they have an ongoing effect that they can do if they want to. There are also upgrade cards to upgrade your creatures and give them an extra power. Any creature or artifact, the first time it comes out, has to enter play exhausted, which means you can't use it at the end of your turn. All your exhausted things ready, and now you could use it next turn. That's the same with artifacts. I tend to put them below. There's no other reason then. This is what's called the battle line. This is where your creatures go, and just below artifacts, again, that would enter tapped and then come out exhausted. Sorry, tapped is specific to a different game. Some cards have this symbol, which means as soon as you play it, you gain an amber, and you tend to store amber on your ID card at the beginning of your turn. If you have 6, you immediately turn them in to forge a key, and as I say, we flip that. That's all that is. So for my first turn, I can only play 1 card, and so seeing as I've only got 1 of this house, I might as well play this. This is a Dust Imp, not very strong, but if it's ever destroyed, I would gain 2 amber. So I bring this in. That's all I can do. So at the end of my turn, it readies. I would draw up to 6, but I already have 6 cards, so nothing happens for me. So it's the other player's turn, and let's see what they've got. Ooh, a lot of Sanctum, so they can do as much as they like. So this has a play effect. Different monsters, or creatures rather, will have different things. Some say it's an action, so you can do that, or it's a play, or ongoing, or all sorts of things. Let's look at this, the Raiding Knight. Now they have a power of 4. They also have armor. So whenever this creature is attacked or is attacking, any damage it takes the first time per turn is lessened by 2. But then that armor is gone, and if they're attacked again, it affects their health. I've got 2 of those, that's good. So this says play, capture 1 amber. And it explains what it does. Captured amber is taken from the opponent's pool, which is usually here, and placed onto this card. If this ever dies, it comes back. So you're not stealing it, it just slows down the opponent a little bit. And again, we've got a couple of actions for this house as well. So they are going to bring in these 2. Now they can't capture because I don't have any. That's not going to do anything. If you don't want to play it and you don't want to keep it in your hand because it's the same house, you can discard it. So I'm just going to discard that because it would have no effect. I am going to play this card. Now the play effect does nothing because for the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. Fine. I bring that in by playing it because it had the amber symbol. I place an amber from the supply onto the ID card. This then goes into the discard pile. That is all they can do because these are of a different house. So you cannot play these cards this turn, only with that symbol. So at the end of that turn, these come up, they are readied, and we draw 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the whole turn. And this person looks and goes, well, I've got all these creatures, this is going to be good for board presence. So let's do this. So that's a fight ability. If this person fights and survives, I would gain an ember. Smash, with lots of A's. Play, stun a creature. So I'm going to play Smash. He comes in exhausted, and I get to take a stun card. As I say, these are tokens these days, and I get to place it over an opponent's creature. If they want to ever use that creature, they would have to use its house and tap it, exhaust it rather, to get rid of it. So I've basically wasted a turn of that card by playing him. And let's see. Okay, this is about neighboring creature. In the battle line, it matters where they are. So let me do Headhunter, the one that if it fights, it gains me 1. I'm going to bring him on this side. Its neighbor is this one. This one's neighbors are these 2. It's the ones it's next to, nice and simple. If I now play Gang the Chieftain and bring them in here, it states there's a play effect. You may ready and fight with a neighboring creature. Let's see if this focuses. There we go. That creature may be from any house. So that might enable me to use a different house, but I'm going to put it here, which enables me to ready this one. And so now I have to fight with it. He's going to attack this one here. So he's attacking with 5. So he does 5 damage, but he's going to be protected for 2. So he takes 3, but at the same time, he's attacking with 4. So I take 4 damage. I survived. So his fight ability allows me to gain 1. And I have another Gangnut Chieftain, so I will play that one as well, which enables me to ready smash and fight with him. He does 5 to this 4. The 2 is gone. Remember, armor only counts the first time per round, so this one dies, but it still does the 4 damage back. So smash takes 4 damage, so I have limited their ability to do anything. Whoops, this one fought, so it gets exhausted. That's all I can do. So at the end of my turn, these would ready. And I would draw back up to 6. Now, fighting is one thing creatures can do. Sometimes they have an action, as I said. But the other thing, and probably the main thing that people miss, is what you want to do with them is reap. So instead of fighting, I exhaust it. If it was my turn, I know it's the other person, but we're pretending. And just by reaping, I gain an ember. So every time, if I was doing a Brobnar turn, I could use all 4 of these and I would gain a total of 4 ember. At the beginning of my turn, again, just pretending, if I have 6, I turn in all 6 back to the supply and forge a key. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. Once all 3 keys are forged, you have won. So why do I like Keyforge? And I really do. It's currently in my top 5 games comfortably that I've ever played. It's one that has recently become my most played game, even just in the 6 months that it's been out. It's one that is very often just on my mind. They're about to release the 2nd set, so new cards will come in, same factions, they'll add to those as they go. But why do I like it? It's just a fascinating concept to me. One of my favorite things to do, I've got, I don't know, 10, 12 decks at this point. And they're relatively cheap. They're only about £7, £8 if you buy them online, £9, £10 if you get them in a shop. So, you know, it's not that much money. You don't have to buy more. What I just find really fascinating is just pairing the decks up and seeing the outcome. More than once, Kirsty's walked in to find me playing both sides of a game. You see the mat in the rules just a second ago, and I just sit there picking up this hand, doing that side, putting it back over here, picking up my hand, doing it, and just to see who wins. Now, in a lot of games, I don't like where it's a kind of, here's what you get, make the best of it. If it presents itself as a strategy style game and then has so many random elements that it just goes, figure it out, that annoys me. But that's the whole game of this, is here's the deck, figure out how it works, play it a few times, try it against a few different opponents, see what combos you get, see how it works together. That is really interesting for me in this context. It doesn't appeal to everybody, I get that. And as I say, in other games, it frustrates me. So it's strange that it works here, but it really does. Now, having grown up playing these dueling kind of card games, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one that I was into for quite a while. This has a very familiar feel to me on building up the battle line, attacking the other person. That's a very typical thing, but that extra dynamic of that's not how you win. You're doing that really just to keep them at bay so you can do your thing whilst they're doing the same, because it's really a resource game to forge those keys. I really like that extra element. Just a straight battle one is who's got the better deck, whereas this is a combination of how does the deck all work together, plus your tactics of how am I going to use this? Am I going to focus on building my battle line, and some houses lend themselves more to that? Or am I going to just affect the other player and screw up what they're doing and steal from them and capture to slow them down, and whilst I'm just slowly ticking away on mine, other houses lend themselves towards that? Or am I just going to be playing the cards that generate me loads and loads and loads of ember, potentially affect how forging keys works? They've just really designed a real breadth of how this game works. It's exactly the same each time. You get 6 ember, you forge a key. You get 6 ember, you forge a key. You get 6 ember, you forge a key. And it's just a really simple thing, but the whole game then affects that. And that's just really interesting to me. I like getting a new deck. I like finding out what it's like. I don't understand it very well. There's loads of videos of other people who have really gone into the stats and can look at a list and say whether it's good or not. I'm starting to be able to do that. I don't think I'll ever get that far in my understanding of it. But I do like that. Oh, it's got this card. Yeah, I like that card. How does it fit? Oh, it's got this other one as well. That's interesting. So I like that currently there's only 350 cards, as I say, and new sets coming out, so that will increase. Just working out how this world works, what people generally call the meta game, the understanding outside of the game, the thinking that you do about the game rather than the game itself. Like within the game, that's fun. I like playing I like the card play. I like the forging the keys, the different cards that come up. But then the step back from that and going, I'm thinking about the game. I'm thinking what cards would work well together. Oh, now if this one came up again with this one, actually I'd use it to do this thing. That is really engaging for me. And it does all of that without making me build a deck. Now, in lots of these other games, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, you can just buy preset decks, and lots of people do that. But the people that really like it generally will get into the whole constructing your own deck thing. And generally speaking, I'm not very good at that. I've got Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, which I really enjoy, and it asks you to do that, and I'm okay at that, but I generally lose, but probably because my deck construction isn't great. The few Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks that I've got left, I've sought advice and input from other people on what to put in those decks, because I don't think that way very well. So now here's a game where that's done for me, and I can immediately just have fun. Brilliant, very clever. Now, some people's argument is about the imbalance between the decks, because it's relatively random, obviously within some constraints, but relatively random. You might open up and just get a terrible deck. I played in a tournament where part of your buy-in was you got a deck, a brand new deck, sealed deck tournament, and I came second, and the guy who won had an amazing deck. The person I played first, their deck wasn't good, and so I beat them relatively easily, not because I'm good at this, but just because that's how it works. And I get that argument, and what the creators have tried to do now is create different formats in which that can work. So they have this chain system where you handicap yourself basically, and you can bet chains to play with these amazing decks rather than the rubbish ones. So they've worked out ways of balancing it, and I just think that just adds just another level of it being just really clever, and I'm just super impressed by it. So that is Keyforge and a little bit of why I like it. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow us on social media, on Twitter at WSomeElmore, or on Instagram and Facebook. Check us out on all those places. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you stay notified when we put out new videos. I have been Dieter for Win Some, Loosemore. See you next time. Bye.